His divine grace, please see Bhagavad-Gita, Srila Prabhupada, Prahladananda Swami, all glorious Shri Guru and Shri Ranga. Om Agyanatimanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksurmulitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shiro Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vikam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vridanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakham Sridham Shah Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Hidakate Gopishna Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapyakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudevi Ramani Vipriye Panchakapotravirasya Vipasinu Vaisha Adinam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Radharani Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 I'm going to read from the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 5, called Karma Yoga, Action, Krishna Consciousness, text number 29. Bhaktaram yagatapasam sarvalokam maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam kyatpamam shanti richati. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Please repeat. A person in full consciousness of me,
Person in full consciousness of me,
knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary
knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary
of all sacrifices and austerities,
of all sacrifices and austerities,
the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods,
the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods,
and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities,
and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities,
attains peace from the pangs of material miseries.
attains peace from the pangs of material miseries.
True Prabhupada's purport. The conditioned souls within the clutches of illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world. But they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad-Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Shvetashvara Upanishad 6.7, Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishvaranam Paramang Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be the lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of the material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. The 6th chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as Karma Yoga. The question of mental speculation as to how Karma Yoga can give liberation is answered herein. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with a complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga is a path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute. And the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is the eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya, illusion, due to the desire to lord over Maya. That is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life, even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more he is free from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial, but anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which helps one control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. One who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above-mentioned passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage or Brahma Nirvana. The Eightfold Yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pratyahara, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. For these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being, is the highest perfection of life. So the verse again, Bhaktaram yagatapasam sarvalokam suridam sarvabhutanam gyatpamam shantim richati. Person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschadhyada Satarne. Srila Prabhupada came to the temple which I joined in 1968, became in 1969, the temple in a place called Buffalo, New York, in America. And The first lecture he gave, there were only around 5 devotees in the temple at that time. The first lecture he gave, the first thing he asked the devotees, he said, "Do you want to become happy?" And everyone looked at Prabhupada, trying to figure out what the answer was. And no one could figure it out. So Prabhupada was a little concerned, so he asked again, "Don't you want to become happy?" So then one devotee decided, then Prabhupada looked very concerned, and he asked again, "Don't you want to become happy?" And the one devotee guessed and said, "Yes." Prabhupada said, "Oh, that's very good." So actually everyone wants just 3 things. That's all existence is about. Everyone wants to know how to become as happy as possible for as long as possible. That's all we want to know. But in Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, "Nashti buddhya yuktasya, nacha yuktasya bhavanaha, nacha bhavyantak shantir, ashantasya kutak sukha." That one who's not in transcendental consciousness can have neither controlled mind nor steady intelligence, without which there's no possibility of peace, and how can there be any happiness without peace? So this particular verse is known as the peace formula, which is a preliminary requirement before we can actually become happy. Now, we're by nature eternal, but somehow or another we've forgotten that. So instead of being peaceful, we're always in anxiety. What's going to happen to my body? Because everyone knows what's going to happen to their body, so we don't have to repeat it. Everyone wants to live forever, but we will live forever, but not in this present body. And therefore, whatever we're doing for happiness in the material world is always contaminated with this fear of we have to leave the body. It's temporary. Just like as I said before, if we gave everyone a free ticket to fly to India for Gaur Purnima. We have a festival in India, it's called Gaur Purnima, and it's coming up in the beginning of March. So say, Tapo Divyam Prabhu offered to give everyone here a free ticket to fly to India, to Mayapur, for Gaur Purnima. So how many of our devotees here and guests would accept a free ticket to fly to India for Gaur Purnima? So that's good. So just imagine that we're flying to India for Gaur Purnima on Air Hare Krishna, of course. What other airlines would do that? And the pilot makes an announcement, "Welcome, Hare Krishna, to Air Hare Krishna. We hope you enjoy the flight. We're 1 hour away from Mayapur, so we hope that everything goes nice for you. Now we're going to serve the feast. It's a 15-course feast. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. There's samosas and gulab jamuns, ice cream and pizza." We only have one other short announcement, so that unfortunately the Finnish temple didn't have enough money to put enough petrol into the plane. So our co-pilot said we'll probably crash into the ocean around half an hour. But there's nothing to be concerned about, because we have excellent servers on board, and they promise us they'll be able to serve practically the whole feast before we crash. So we hope you enjoy the rest of the flight. There will be a movie, an hour-long movie about the Hare Krishnas in Mayapur taking prasadam on Gaur Purnima, but unfortunately you won't be able to see the whole movie. But we can assure you, if you pray to Krishna, he'll probably allow you to come back and see the other half. So we hope you enjoy the rest of the flight. The pilot and the co-pilot, myself, we're bailing out. So you won't hear any more announcements. Hare Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna, be happy, and take a feast. Thank you. So, course, today is a Sunday feast. Luckily, we're not flying on air Hare Krishna. But probably most of us would lose our appetite because that's the nature of the material world, is that we're imagining that we're on a flight forever. But unfortunately, sooner or later, the flight that we're on, either an airplane or in this body, is going to crash. Just like one time, there was a great, and Yudhisthira Maharaj was asked by his father, Dharmaraj, the Lord of religion in the form of a yaksha, what is the most amazing thing in this world? And Maharaj Yudhisthira replied, there were 100 questions that this yaksha, this particular person, asked Yudhisthira Maharaj, but the last one was, what's the most amazing thing? So Yudhisthira Maharaj said, the most amazing thing in this world is ahani bhutani, gachanti amalayam, shesha stara shanti, kimascharya atatparam. That everyone sees ahani bhutani, that day after day, so many living entities are entering into the kingdom of death. But the most amazing thing is that those who stay behind, including ourselves, we think that we're going to be here forever. So the fact is we will be here forever, but we will be forever, but not necessarily in this particular body. Unfortunately, in modern society, they're imagining that they're actually going to be here for a long time. And they've created this idea that there is no controller behind the material universe, and that we came out of nothing. And therefore, it's natural that when this body is finished, we just become nothing again. So there's nothing to worry about, because we're nothing anyhow. But we understand their philosophy is nothing. And that the only real nothing exists in those people who are propounding. The only real nothing that exists is in between the ears of the people who are propounding the philosophy of nothingness. That's the only place where we can find a void. For instance, according to their philosophy, at the beginning there was nothing. And then nothing was getting bored because there was nothing to do. And especially nothing's mother, because everyone has a mother, was telling Mr. Nothing that you should make something out of yourself. It's embarrassing. So after a long time, Nothing got the message and he decided to become something. But it was a very hard struggle when you're nothing to become something. So he worked at it for a long time because he had nothing else to do. So finally he became nothing. He became a little bit of gas. According to the scientists, at least, that's what nothing was able to accomplish. Not very much gas. Most people can produce that much gas themselves. But they can't do it out of nothing. That's the trick. Now, after becoming a little gas, Mother Nothing said, is that all you've become? It's an embarrassment. Besides that, you're very unpleasant. So try to do a little bit better. So Nothing, he got together, he got himself together and became a rock. And his mother was still not impressed. All you are is a big rock. So by this time, Nothing became very disturbed, and he became angry and exploded, and flew all different directions for unlimited time. And finally, Mother Nothing said, well, why don't you settle down? So here we are now. Mr. Nothing settled down and developed by evolution until we came to this class. So that's the current general philosophy of many people is coming from the scientific community. But does it really make any sense? Now, if everything came out of nothing, why doesn't more things come out of nothing? Why only this universe came out of nothing? Why not more things? Why don't we wake up one day and we look around and we see a new universe just fly by us? Because nothing decides to expand himself again. And does it really make sense that we came out of nothing? Because everyone here has a father or mother. Is that right? Everyone here had a father or mother? Did you have a father or mother? What's your name? No, her. Yes. Hashida. Did you have a father or mother, Hashida? Good. And did your father or mother have a father or mother? Yes. And their father or mother had a father or mother too. So is there anything that within our family history that we didn't have a father or mother? Someone, our great-great-great-grandmother didn't, or father didn't have a father or mother?
Can I
Yes.
say something?
You couldn't.
It is taught that Jesus did not have a father and a human being father.
Well, Jesus had God as his father.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a good father. So, if we look at our family book, or sometimes people have this family book of their ancestry. So, according to some scientific philosophy, not very scientific. So, if we're examining going through the book, we turn the page and there's our father and mother. And we turn the next page, there's our grandparents. We turn the page and there's their grandparents. There's their father and mother. So where do we turn the page? And suddenly we see on the page someone hanging on a tree, full of hair, covered his body, and with a big smile on his face. That's great-great-great-grandfather Harry. And that's Mother Lucy, that's great-great-great-grandmother Lucy. We were surprised. Wow, he must have been warm. And then we turn the page and then we see a black sheep. And then there's the black sheep that everyone's in our family that everyone's talking about. And then we turn the page and then there is our great-great-great-great-grandfather and mother. They're called Squeaky, a mouse. And then finally we keep turning the pages and we come to a rock. And underneath it says the most solid member of our family. And then we turn the page and there's nothing. This is the original ancestor. Nothing. We came out of nothing. So who could believe it? Is this science or is it science fiction?
Science fiction.
Science means that we're supposed to have theory, we're supposed to have experiment, we're supposed to have observation, and then we have a conclusion. But in this particular case, they don't even have a theory, what to speak of observation. All they have is a conclusion, which keeps on changing. And yet the whole material world, our current civilization, is actually believing something which is completely unscience fiction. And yet, something which is scientific, they're very reluctant to accept. For instance, here it says that Krishna, he's the controller. Now, what is our actual experience? Is there actually a God who's controlling things? For instance, when we wake up in the morning, we see sometimes, depending on the time of year here in Finland, we see that the sun rises. And then at a certain time, the sun sets. Exactly on time. If you go on the internet, you can type in when the sun rises and sets in Finland for the next 25 or 500 years from now. And they'll be able to give you exactly the time when it's going to rise and it's going to set, that even my watch can't give such an accurate, time. As a matter of fact, the watches are simply made on the basis of the sun, which is the biggest watch in the universe. Now, can the scientists make a watch the size of the sun, or even the size of my wrist, that's going to be so accurate? Well, one great personality in this universe named Lord Brahma, he says it's Aisha Savitasa Kalagrahana Tyagaya Brahmati Samrita Kala Chakra Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhujami. That he's worshipping Govinda because Govinda has created the sun moving in its orbit exactly on time. So Govinda has created this wonderful sun that rises at a certain time and sets at a certain time. So who could have made it unless he's greatly powerful personality? Because Lord Brahma says, although the sun is so powerful, it's infinitely effulgent and gives off heat and light that lights up the entire universe for an unlimited amount of time. Still, it moves exactly in an orbit. They say that if the sun moved a little closer to the earth, that it would be a lot warmer here in Finland. You wouldn't have to worry about cooking in your oven. You could just put the bread on the sidewalk and it would bake, along with everyone else here. And if the sun moved a little bit away from this planet, then everything would freeze. You wouldn't need a refrigerator. Helsinki would be one big freezer. But the sun, we can see that we're not expecting the sun to move tomorrow. We hope it doesn't move away or towards this planet that we're on. So who's created this wonderful machine? The scientists say it came about by accident. So could they create such a machine, such a sun, even a little tiny sun? We can put it over Helsinki and there wouldn't be a winter anymore. Unless you like winter, because then you can turn it off if you go by remote control. They say they know everything about the sun, but actually I read one article a long time ago. They said that in scientific magazine, well, actually it wasn't science, it was Time magazine. They said that the scientists, they studied the sun very closely for the last 10 years. And now they know more about the sun than all the other planets in the universe. But recently they found out that everything they knew about the sun, or they thought they knew about the sun, was wrong. So, who is greater? A scientist who makes a little tiny satellite that goes around the Earth, or someone who made a satellite the size of the sun that's giving us unlimited heat and light since time immemorial for the whole universe? Just like if the scientists could make a machine. If you put one grass into one side of the machine, and then at the other side of the machine comes milk. So you can mow your grass when there's grass here, then you can put it in the machine and you get milk. Wouldn't that be nice? You wouldn't have to worry about inflation. Price of grass is pretty much the same all the time. So can the scientists make such a machine? They haven't made it yet, but there is a scientist who's made a machine. Do you know what that machine is called? The cow, yes. Unfortunately, they don't give the cow a Nobel Prize for science. They don't appreciate this wonderful machine, nor the inventor of the machine. Just like, for instance, if a scientist could make a male machine and a female machine, and when they get together, they make another machine. Wouldn't that be nice? Just like, for instance, if you wanted to get a Rolls Royce, anyone here would like a Rolls Royce? For free? So just imagine if you had a male Rolls Royce and a female Rolls Royce, and when they get together, they make little Rolls Royces. You just have to add a little oil and a little bit of gas, and it grows up to become a big Rolls Royce. Wouldn't that be nice? Everyone could have a few Rolls Royces. And when they get old and worn out, they make new ones. You can have perpetual Rolls Royces in your family. So can the scientists make that? A male machine and a female machine, and they get together and they make little machines? Not so. In 8,400,000 species of life, male machines and female machines, and they get together and they make other machines. So who's the greatest scientist? The so-called scientists who can't even make a little machine to turn grass into milk? Or the scientists who's put the planets in their orbits, who's made machines in 8,400,000 species of life that reproduce, that has created snowflakes that fall in precise geometric patterns, with no two snowflakes being identical. Unfortunately, people don't appreciate how wonderful this creation is, because they've been, somehow or another, we've been taught since we were children, everything came out of nothing. Therefore, what we have to do is find out what is the actual path of peace. And the path of peace is very simple: to find out who we actually are, to discover, rediscover who we are, and what our relationship is with the personality who's controlling the whole universe. Here he says that he's the controller. So with a little intelligence, we can observe how Krishna is controlling everything. And he's the actual enjoyer. So the question is, how is Krishna enjoying? Is he enjoying watching everyone suffer here? Is that the kind of God? That God is actually just, creating everything here so we can all be like little mice in a maze, run around here trying to survive, and at the end, everyone dies. Is that the kind of God? There's one rabbi whose name was Krishna, and he came up with a theory that actually God is a nice person, but he's become senile and old, and therefore he can't keep everything together anymore. He's trying to clutch the earth, but he has arthritis, so he can't control things as he used to be. That's why bad things happen to good people. But actually, God is not an old person. God is an ever-fresh person. Just like what's controlling us in this material world directly, we can see is ever-fresh, ever new, namely time. Everything, time is changing everything here. And if you don't believe it, just look at your baby picture and see if it's changed you. Now, some people will say I'm exactly the same as when I was a baby. Now, externally, it would be very hard to prove that you're exactly the same, that little baby picture of you and your present body are exactly the same. There's absolutely no difference. You're just a little bit bigger. But if you're bigger, aren't you different? But there's a sense of our being the same because we're eternal. Just like whatever body we have keeps on changing, but we're not changing. The person is aware of the body. Our moods may change, our body may change, our perspective on this world may change, but we ourselves are perceiving and experiencing. We're never changing. We're always the same. Therefore, we're all actually eternal. But due to the fact that we're an illusion, we think that we're this body. So why do we think we're this body? Because we are trying to become something we're not. And what are we trying to become? We're trying to become God. Unfortunately, we're not very good candidates to become God, although we're trying quite hard. all of us are very sincere in our efforts to become God, to become exactly what it says here. We want to control things. Maybe we're not trying to control the universe yet. If we had the opportunity, certainly we would. Maybe we can't do it yet, but so we're practicing. Maybe we're trying to practice on a dog. Sit, Rover, sit. And if the dog won't listen to us, we go to the parakeet. Speak. Polly want a cracker. Polly. I'm not giving you a cracker. Polly won't speak. We're trying to control something here, whatever it might be. And why are we trying over there, or that person over there, or this, computer over here? What we're trying to enjoy? We want to be happy. We're trying to squeeze some kind of pleasure out of that video game. The Knight and the Dragon in the dungeon. We're trying to squeeze some pleasure out of killing 500 dragons in one day. We can hardly lift up the phone, but we're killing dragons in our imagination. So everyone's trying to become the controller. If we can't control anything, we control our mobile phone, or we control a parakeet or a dog. Why? Because we want to enjoy. And what's the enjoyment? That ultimately real enjoyment, if we're a little bit not antagonistic towards others, we actually want to benefit people. We want to feel that we're actually the benefactors of others, that we're a substitute God, that by my mercy, so many things are going on, so many things are happening. My family is getting their food, their clothing, their shelter. So for them, I'm God. And for my dog, obviously I'm God. That's why whenever he sees me, his tag waves in recognition of who's his God. So actually, we've come here to imitate the Supreme Person. And we're having a hard time doing it, but we're trying very sincerely. Scientists say in a few years they'll be able to invent the pill, just like when I was a child, around 7 or 8 years old, I read in one of these magazines that the scientists will come up with a pill, and then in 20 years, they'll be able to live forever. Unfortunately for the scientist, 20 years later, he died. So people are actually believing somehow or another the scientists will save us, but they can't save themselves. Because although they claim they're our benefactor, that they're controllers, and that we'll all be able to enjoy forever in some world that they create, unlike the world of the religious people, where they claim that God is like, he doesn't know, God is a person who has no face. And the only thing he's doing is sitting on a big throne, and he has his latest IBM, actually he has a Mac computer now because he's upgraded. And in this big scoreboard, and everyone who comes before him, he decides whether or not he looks at the scoreboard and sees their pious and sinful activities. And if they're pious, he gives them a little harp and horn, and he tells them, congratulations, you made it. And they spend the rest of their existence forever playing a harp and horn, saying, God, you're great. And if you're sinful, then God picks you up and throws you into the burning fire. And all the angels gather around and say, can you throw another one in? That's the most exciting thing that's happened to us. And the people playing the harp and horn, one day they go to God and say, God, do us a favor, please. By your mercy, throw us into the burning fire. Because at least in hell there's some rock music. So is this the actual conception of God? No. God is the most merciful. He's the most beautiful. He's the most loving. Otherwise, why is he giving us so many things? He's giving us heat and light and rain, everything we need to exist here, to pretend that we're him, to imitate him, to play around as if we're a god, as if we're the controller. He supplied everything we need to do that. So actually, he's our good friend. And if we actually take his instructions, and in this age, he says, generally speaking, people do not like philosophy very much in this age, because most philosophy is so complicated that even the philosopher can't understand it. But in this age, if we don't know anything else, if we can't understand anything else, still Krishna says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then this simple philosophy will be gradually revealed to us. It's not very complicated. It's actually the most direct philosophy, the most simple and direct. It's simple, as Prabhupada said, to the simple, and when we're clouded over by illusion, it's very difficult. If we want to become God, it's impossible to understand that there is a God that we can't compete with. And if we accept that, then everything else becomes very simple. And then if we just practice a little bit, Krishna will reveal these things to us. So again, I'll read the verse again. Bhaktaram yaga tapasam sarvalokam maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam kyatramam shanti richati. Person of full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, gains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So thank you. I think this is time for ending our class. Thank you. Grantaraj Bhagavad-Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Premanande.